Okay, welcome everybody this morning. Call the council meeting of May 21st, 2024 of West Grey Council to order. You'll notice that there is a couple of councillors that are absent today. Councillor Hutchison is still suffering from some medical issues, and Councillor Shea has some personal matters he's dealing with as well too. So they will not be joining us. But everybody else, and if you could, if we'll please stand and we'll take a moment of reflection before we begin. Ashley, if we have anybody online, can you give us the update on that, how participation virtually can happen? Please.
Thank you, and through you, Mayor Eccles. Before I begin, at any point, if you get disconnected, you can dial 1-647-558-0588 and enter the ID for this meeting, which is 891-5626-2480. Both member of council and staff have been briefed on the various features of the Zoom meeting software and will be raising their hands physically to speak. For members of the public, if you require any technical assistance, please send a chat message to myself, Ashley Noble, Communications Coordinator, and I will attempt to assist you. It should be noted for members of the public that this meeting is taking place across two meeting platforms, both on Zoom as well as being live streamed on YouTube. Public participation, if any, must be done through Zoom and cannot be done through YouTube at this time.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Declaration of pecuniary interest or general nature thereof. Anyone on council have any? Seeing none. At this time, of course, if it does arise, you can declare it at any time. Public meetings. We have none, Jamie, that I'm aware of. You're not aware of any? Well, if you're not aware of any, we mustn't have any then. Good. Comment period. At this time, if there's anybody that's in the audience or virtually in the audience that has a comment on anything on the agenda, we have a period here. And do we have anybody out there, Ashley? There's nobody virtually. Okay. And that's that. Unfinished business. Not aware of any. Adoption of the minutes. I believe that we have the minutes of April 30th, a special council meeting, dealt with hospital closure, and the minutes of the regular meeting, May 7th. Do we have a motion to receive those two minutes? Councillor Townsend and Councillor Noon. Thank you, Joyce. Doug? Any errors or omissions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Committee and board reports and minutes. We have two from the Saugeen Mobility Transit, February 16th and March 22nd. We have one from two from the Airport Commission, April the 17th and April the 21st. We have a motion to receive those for information. Moved by Deputy Mayor Hutchison, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Thank you, Scott. I'll get you first next time, okay? All right. Any comments on those reports? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Correspondence. We have a number of correspondence. Seems like a lot of municipalities out there hold on to them for about a month, 2 months, 6 months, and then get the blast going out. But there are two that need direction. And the first one, 10.1.1, correspondence from AMO regarding AMO delegations. Comment about that on the last. Does anybody have requirement to put in a delegation request for AMO? How many members do we have going down? 1, 2, 3. And Jeff, I think, is going as well too. So we have 4 members that will be going to Ottawa, where the conference is being held this year. Any requests? Anybody got any? Maybe we should talk to the Ministry of Health. Just, you know, it would be kind of nice. We'd probably be able to say thank you, because by that time we will have kept our hospital open. Can we put in that request? And the other one I was thinking about was Minister Todd McCarthy. He's from Durham Region. He deals with business and public corporations. I'm just not sure what the title is, but that because the hospital is a public corporation, some of that falls under his ministry as well too. So we'll be with Minister McCarthy, Todd McCarthy. Those are 2 that I would like to discuss. Tom, push that little button in first. Now push that other button. I know.
As a rule, that is usually taken care of, their miracles.
We'll discuss that with staff.
Yeah,
On the
I was
technology that's
quite
got
capable
some-
of handling that. Thank you. Well, as I look around in more and more infrastructure, should we go once again to the infrastructure and talk to them about that? So, you know, we got 4 represent from council. I think we better bring that to them again, because we certainly are struggling. So I think maybe we bring that some more awareness and see what we can do again. Thank you.
Well, it won't hurt until we get the answers, probably from them. Real answer. Councillor Noon, Joyce.
Yes, I agree with Deputy Mayor Hutchinson that, you know, with our new developments and stuff and our need for probably more water resources and infrastructure for that and the sewer, that there's definitely a need for that growth coming into West Grey. Thank you.
Anything else? Members? Staff have any suggestions? Yes, Jamie, go ahead. You're looking for a mic, or you got the microphone there. You got a motion then for that?
Through your miracles, I do. I have that in consideration for correspondence received from the Association of Municipalities of Ontario respecting a call for delegation request for the 2024 AMO conference. Council directs staff to submit requests for delegations respecting rural hospitals and healthcare and infrastructure funding.
Good with that? Go ahead. Go. Yeah.
Did you not say something about the minister responsible for the?
Yeah, McCarthy.
Yeah.
Through your miracles, my understanding of that one was that the request for rural hospitals and healthcare would go both to the Ministry of Health and Minister McCarthy. So that's one request to 2 ministries.
Very good. We've got it. Somebody want to move that motion? Councillor Forrester and Councillor Townsend. Thank you. Any questions on that? We'll see what we get for those requests. All in favor? Call the question. Any opposed? That's carried. The second one that needs direction is the correspondence from the Branch 308 Legion, which happens to be the local branch here in Durham. Request for additional banners. I think we had this one last year. Jamie was requesting around the November time. Any comments on this one, Mr. Hewlett? Push the start button first and then go.
There we go. We'll call it Tuesday after a long weekend. Good morning, and through you, we originally received the request from Branch 308 for the installation of veterans banners in April of 2022. At the time, council had given the Legion direction to proceed with 12 banner arms, which was half of our stock that we had in Durham. Essentially, it would allow us with how we hang the banners. We have the Westgrey branded banner, and then we have the picture banner alternating through the pattern. It would allow them to replace the Westgrey brand, sorry, the picture branded banner with the Legion banners. Last year, council authorized the Legion to install an additional, I believe it was 6 banner arms, taking the stock of what they could hang up to 18. This additional request of the up to 10 would allow the Legion to use all of the banner arms within Durham and then expand the program in our other urban areas. With that being said, I have no concerns if council wishes to grant this authorization to the Legion. However, I would just like to advise council that for our fall hangings, it will essentially mean that we are only hanging the veterans banners within Durham.
Okay. Further thoughts on that? Tom, please, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. So through you to Cody. Cody, so all you're saying is after these ones come down, we'll just take them down, and that's it. We won't. Sorry, I didn't understand that.
So we do 2 hangings of banners a year. So right now we have our spring banners out, which are the white and black branded Westgrey banner, and then the little boy with the deer. That's our standard banner hanging. In the fall, it will just mean that we do not have any of our Westgrey banners within Durham. It will just be the Legion banners.
So we have enough existing brackets then to accommodate what this request is here, and we're not putting more brackets up or buying more brackets.
That is correct. However, this request will essentially max out the current number of banners that we have. So if this year, if the program is another roaring success, which it has been for the past few years, next year, if there is a request to expand the program further, we will then need to investigate installing additional banner arms.
Well, thank you, and I fully support this. I think it's a wonderful thing that to fly that and take and acknowledge the members that have served and those that have sacrificed to ultimate. But I think a follow-up letter with Mr. Carr as well is to just let him know if they feel this is going to expand, maybe that they get into the budget early enough if they felt there was more expansion, so we can get the brackets into consideration of budget. How's that sound? Thank you.
Well, thank you. And just a consideration too for 2025's budget, that maybe perhaps we should look at extra brackets right now so that we can keep maybe every 3rd pole or whatever that recognizes the Westgrey logo just within that in the falls, especially if we're keeping them up all fall into the winter. I think then we still show that reflection of the Westgrey banner. Thank you.
Go ahead, Cody.
With that being said, we do have an additional 4 banner arms that were installed as part of the Garifax Bridge project. Those banner arms we have not allotted to the Durham Legion. We have kept those in-house that we will use for our seasonal hangings, we did banners there for the Halloween party, as well as we've connected with the BIA to allow them to do some local hangings as well. So those ones will still remain Westgrey focused, but as part of the 2025 budget process, I can put together a proposal for council's consideration to expand the program so that we can still have some Westgrey branding outside of our downtown core.
Okay. Anything else on this one? I guess I'm going to ask a question from the chair. Cody, how many do we have in well, I guess the other three urban areas, the Elmwood, Newstead, and Eaton. You must have some there as well too, but does the Legion have, any of the Legions have any of those ones as well too, or requests?
Yes, so in total within West Gray, we have approximately 76 banner arms. 28 that would sit in Durham, a dozen in Ayton, 24 in Newstead, and 12 in Elmwood, if my math is correct there. With that, when council gave the Legion authorization to start with the banner program, they allowed them to use half of the banner arms. So every other arm, however, there has been limited uptake in those communities for veterans banners.
Right, okay. So if they do, I guess where I was going with that, if they do have more than what they have banners in Durham, there are other options within West Gray for that. Because it certainly wasn't just West Gray, Durham residents that served. We had quite a few from outside that should be, could be recognized.
Absolutely. The one note that I will share on that is typically the families want them to be hung in the community that they live in. So for a Durham veteran, they would like to have the banners hung in Durham. Same with their other communities as well. But that is an option should the banner program grow beyond what we can support here in just Durham.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have a motion there from that, Jamie?
Through Mayor Eccles, based on the request received, I have that in consideration of correspondence received from Royal Canadian Legion Branch 308 Durham. Council authorizes the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 308 Durham to install up to 10 additional banners in Durham and 3 additional banners in Ayton for the fall banner campaign.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Hutchison and Councillor Townsend, second that motion. Any further conversation, questions, comments? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. And the rest of the correspondence. Anybody that has any of those pulled? I just have one comment. I don't want to pull it. Number 5, Township of Burdell, Lydock, and Raglan. D was the hoarding program, mental health services and whatnot. That truly is, yeah, it's a municipal thing, but I think that falls under the housing aspect of it. That's a Grey County one. Nobody's commented on it, but I think we'll leave that with the county, not step into there. Okay. There's no other correspondence. Need a motion to receive for information. Moved by Councillor Forrester, seconded by, Councillor Noon. Thank you, Scott. Joyce, any more questions on the motion to receive the correspondence? Seeing none, call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Thank you. That must mean we're down to staff reports. Doing pretty good here so far. 11.1. Community services. And that would be you, Mr. Hewlett. Cody, on the Lamlash office lease.
Thank you, and through you, the report in front of council. Our longstanding tenant of the former Bentic Municipal Office, or rather the Lamlash office, has terminated their lease agreement. They have moved on, and staff are seeking council direction to advertise the space available for lease. Following that, we will work with potential leasees to organize a lease that we will bring back to council for consideration prior to entering.
Okay. Any questions or comments? That's what the report is, and the recommendation is in that report. We have nobody that, no questions with that direction, and somebody to move the recommendation. Councillor Townsend. Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any questions or comments on the motion? To work out a new lease agreement on the Lamlash Hall? Sorry, Lamlash office. I think we already do rent out the hall on a regular basis. My little Freudian slip there for the morning. That'll be the last one of the day. Councillor Noon, it's not that funny. Okay, so we got the motion to do the lease on the former municipal office in Bentig. No questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? None. That is carried. Thank you, Cody. Director of Infrastructure and Public Works. Good morning, Mr. Aiken. And you have a report here on the composting units.
Yes, our environmental officer has prepared a report on the composting units. We're in receipt of them now, and we are looking, the intent of the report is to put a price to selling them. Nicole is here, and if there's any further questions on the actual program, I'm sure she'd be happy to answer them, but the intent is to focus on ultimately getting the fee and charges bylaw updated to actually sell the composters.
Any questions, comments? Kirsten, in these units, can you put in a recommendation from other boards? And will it recycle that and come out with a different opinion? You know, not being specific, but South Bruce Grey Health Services Center.
I'm not sure if that's on the acceptable and not acceptable list of items.
Okay. Any questions for Kirsten on, sorry, Nicole on this? Second Freudian slip. I think it's a very good program for the community out there at large, and we will be able to track this. We used to be able to, for our diversion funding and things like that. Now we have changed that slightly about a month ago, but this will still help. It'll certainly help keep a lot of that organics out of with good pickup, correct?
Yes, so we're able to track how many units are sold. There's also metrics out there that have already been established from other areas about how much the average household will divert through a backyard composting program. And I'm a believer in the rural values that we have here. Lots of people grew up on rural properties with a compost pile or on a farm with a manure pile, where you're familiar with how to manage your organic waste. And I think that that's something that we really should be leveraging here, because this is the most affordable way to deal with diverting organic materials, and you have it right there on your property to put back into your lawn and garden.
I'm gonna say from a personal standpoint, it does work very well. Joanne and I built a new house in Forest Creek a few years ago, and one of the things that we did was, yes, put one of those in the backyard, have space for that, and they work extremely well. Everybody's concerned about smell and animals. Haven't had a problem at all with either one. Units work. I could have waited, and this is quite more affordable than what I put in on a personal basis, but greatly supportive of it. Thanks, Nicole, for bringing this to us. Anybody else? Well, the recommendation is there. Do we have enough inventory at the present moment to, for the next week when 500 individuals are coming in?
We don't have quite that many, but we do have an inventory available, and based on how quickly those move, I'll be placing another order. And then we'll see if we can offer them at the sites. We'll, just to make sure that we're able to store them there and manage being able to sell them as well. So we've got one set up here behind the office, which we've started using. And I'd like to see if I can't get them into other facilities as well for a demo, just to get them in front of people's faces and make sure that everybody knows they're available. And if I may, in partnership with the rain barrels that we also have available, I think the two are a really nice start to the gardening season.
Very good. Okay. So Nicole has or Jeff has the recommendation there. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor Noon and Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thank you. Any further comments on the motion? Tom?
Actually, no, we have no, sir. I'll leave it vacant.
Okay. No further questions? All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you, Nicole, and excellent. If you run into the problem of not having enough around, that is success for sure. Good work. Yeah, that'll be an excellent news story. Thanks, Jeff. Okay, next one then is Normanby Shed roof replacement. Jeff, you've got a report on us there.
Yeah, I had provided a previous report that was accepted by council on a proposal to replace the flat roof on the Normanby Shed with a truss roof system. Part of that discussion, council did accept the proposal to do the trusses, but inquired about the potential for solar generation or photovoltaic. Sorry, I apologize. We did go back to the structural engineer to get some advice and guidance on how to go about it. There is no known funding for this right now, so it'd be solely on us, and it's quite the process to go from where we are today to actually get it up and running. And I think the report itself tries to outline future phases of the project, if in fact council does wish to proceed with solar at either specifically this facility or any other facility in West Grey.
Questions? Scott, Councillor Forrester, please.
All right, I'd like to thank staff for replying back to my questions about fire protection with solar panels and the insurance cost. I'm not sure if Aiton's the right fit for this, but maybe we could make the roof strong enough that it could be consideration later on.
Through your worship, yes, you're correct, Councillor Forrester. If in fact we wanted to do solar, we've only decided we want to do trusses. We haven't actually done the detailed design of what the truss would look like. So if and when we pick the solar panel, we could look at its weight and ensure that the loading is in fact correct without actually having to do retrofit compensating construction. So yeah, in a nutshell, yes.
I think it's here. I'm going to ask the question. The return on an investment like this would be or will not be?
It's very difficult to tell because it depends on what the payback program is, and it's vague right now. So no, there's been no analysis on what the payback would specifically be for, and I think we're estimating 40 to 50 kilowatts. So no, I can tell you based on experience, I did 2 projects under the microfit program, which was 81 cents a kilowatt hour, and it took 20 years to pay that back. And we're not going to, I would be shocked if we saw 81 cents a kilowatt hour. That was under a previous provincial government, but I think the payback would be very, very difficult. The advantage would be to bragging points about doing something green.
Maybe the best point about doing something green is doing it simple and not taking up a lot of the earth. and
Potentially, you could
elements.
achieve the same green brownie points by continuing with the orchard you started here in Durham or more tree planting, for example. That might be exaggerating a little bit, but the payback on this is very difficult to estimate if in fact there actually is a payback.
And Carrie, maybe turn to the CEO of Finance. We're not 100% certain of what the insurance risk and escalation might be either.
Yes, through you, Mayor. There would be an additional rider required, so there would be additional insurance. We would also need to have some sort of a program for inspection, tree, limbs and leaves, squirrels, all of those types of things. So if there was any trees close to the depot, they would probably need to be removed to protect and mitigate the risk of a fire hazard with damage to the solar panels. So and our staff wouldn't be qualified to go up and inspect these panels on top of the roof. So you would have an increased cost. And that would be part of our due diligence, I would expect, should we want to have these on top of there. We need to protect the structure and the $3 million+ of equipment that are contained in there should a fire happen because of the solar panels on the roof. We had one fire. I was speaking with the fire chief. It was on a barn a few years back, and the structure burned very, very quickly as a result of so it does put a risk there that we need to try to mitigate, and there will be costs associated with trying to mitigate those risks to protect our underlying assets of the structure and equipment contained in that building.
Cole's notes is, I'm taking that you're not much in favor of doing this on a cost analysis.
I like your idea of planting some trees as a cost-effective management way to mitigate some of our carbon climate change footprint. I don't know if this is the structure, if this is where we need to do it. If it's something, you want to ground mount solar on top of a abandoned landfill sometime, look at that. But you're going to spend money on these with little to no payback, and be stuck with disposing of these as well, which is kind of a unknown. I don't know. Again, that's something that the engineers and the people that bring these projects forward, but the cost of the what you get from the grid for going into it has not as lucrative as it used to be either.
Joyce, Councilor Noon.
Well, thank you. And thank you for following up on our request to find out about the solar panels. I really appreciate that. Moving forward, maybe this isn't the right time, but I take it we're still going to move forward with the truss roof though on the Norby shed. And then the other thing is too, that maybe future developments, maybe these things won't be so, with insurance and so on and so forth. Maybe technology will change and, future councils be able to make these decisions, because we're looking at trying to make more greener choices and stuff, and we've covered those avenues. But yeah, again, planting trees is probably our best avenue to plant trees around the facility for now, just cover some of those needs. But thanks again for doing that extra investigation on that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Mayor Eccles, well, I could move the recommendation that we just simply receive this report for information purposes.
Thank you. And Councillor Townsend will second that. I think the opinion is putting solar panels on small roofs is probably not our best bet. Just get some trusses up there and get the roof on. Okay. We've moved and seconded to receive the report for information. Any other questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Okay. Jeff. Bridge. Not troubled waters, it's just troubled bridge. Trouble. Bridge number 51, 051. What good news have you had over that over the weekend? It's going to change this report. Nothing.
I have nothing to edit my report with, unfortunately. I wish I had a pot of gold. And I think one of the more sobering thoughts is we started the year off with a BCI in the 60s for this bridge, and here we are. And we have many bridges that have BCIs less than 60, so it's a very sobering moment for us for sure.
Joyce, do
Yes, it's very unfortunate. I'm just looking, I know we're replacing the Glenelg Bridge in 2025. We've already, made that budget choice. But how long would you anticipate, based on funding and so on and so forth, that we could afford to keep this bridge closed with the amount of traffic that would be utilizing that roadway?
Well, what we can do for the 2025 budget is come back with an estimate on what it would cost to replace the structure. Right now, we don't have a time frame to replace it. There's another bridge, 55, we closed last November that can be repaired, but this bridge is a complete replacement at this point. So it's difficult to estimate when we'd have the financial resources to do this. I'm not aware of any funding. We only have one source, and that's the taxpayer at the moment. So in the fall, once we've received the updated bridge inspection reports for the Normanby structures, we do plan to have an open house about the bridges, which I believe was council's direction during the budget process. And the primary objective is to discuss a bridge closure plan with the public. Make sure they understand we have 102 some odd structures. They're not $1 million. Well, in the Glenelg case, it's going to be 2 million multiplied by 100. It's not pretty, and some very tough decisions are going to have to be made in the near future, and this may be one of them.
Doug, Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. When was this bridge last inspected? Are they done every 2 years?
That is correct. They're done every 2 years, and it's due this year. So 2022 is when they generated the BCI in the 60s.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, that the photo that we've got for the deterioration on that beam, that to me seems like a lot to happen in 2 years. So is the bridge inspecting company, are they taking any, they'll be like any other consultant, taking any responsibility for this? Like it seems like it's deteriorated. That rate of deterioration seems a lot to happen within just a 2-year span.
Through your worship, yeah, you're correct. I agree with you, and we pushed back with the consultant trying to review how did we get from one number to this, because the time frame doesn't quite add up, and we're in agreement, and that is an issue we're pushing back on.
So it just kind of leads you to believe, or leads you to wonder the money we're spending on the bridge inspections in a lot of cases is really, really worth it or not. And we should just almost deal with them on a closure basis, but that's just a comment. The other thing, is there a possibility, I know we've got money set aside for the Glenelg Bridge. Is there a possibility this bridge could leapfrog that one in the system? Cross our fingers and hold our breath that the Glenelg Bridge hangs in for another year or so. And then we put this one as a priority because this is a far more heavily traffic covered road than the Glenelg Bridge.
Through your worship, I would be concerned about the Glenelg Bridge being closed too. It is severely undercutted. It's not sitting on much anymore and it is deteriorating. I'm not sure I would leapfrog it.
No, I was just wondering if that was a possibility, but if it's in dire need, then we've got to go with that one too. Okay, thank you.
You make a fair point, and we did discuss that with our bridge guy. So yeah, no, you have a valid point.
Councillor Noon, Joyce?
Well, thank you. I think too, realistically, when we look at our farm equipment now is much bigger, much heavier. We have such a big truck volume. We've had detours that I think probably added to the stress of that bridge over the, like with the Newstead, Queen Street closed there for, more than 2 weeks. So there was, I had heard that there was evident that there was one volume of traffic that was using that road quite a bit with an excessive amount of weight to it. So I think realistically, when we look at overall, all bridges in West Grey with increased weight volumes to our traffic, I think it's going to be an ongoing problem now that it's just something we're not going to be able to get away with unless you put such strict restrictions on load barriers on these bridges. I don't know how else we can get longer lasting bridges at this time, and thank you.
Thank you, Tom. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Yeah, I agree with what Councillor Noon said. I think it's time for us to go do an evaluation on all our structures and put these load restrictions in place, because this is just going to continue. And I think enforcement has to happen, and it has to happen very aggressive, because this is not going to stop. And as you look around all of our municipality, so I think that's a really important key element right there, because I know several of the roads, because I've been on several of them, and I do know that there is overweight transportation going on, even in restricted areas. So it is there. The other thing, I think it might be time for us to consider requesting a delegation from some of these prefab bridge companies to come in and just kind of explain to council what they do and what their services are, because we've gone to all these conferences and they're saying they're a fraction of what the other ones are, and the fraction is maybe half to 3/4, but that's a fraction. And maybe it's time for us to just get some education from them to come and talk to us about it. Just give them one to look at. I think a lot of us could benefit from that information, and I think because we are live all the time, maybe the community can understand some of that too. Thank you.
In your estimation, Jeff, Director Aiken, how many of those structures are in Grey County at the present moment, and how have they held up? And I know of one certainly in West Grey that was placed in, and the construction community and whatnot, the acceptance of it, I think, is what's held us back. What is the concerning factor with some of these prefab structures and putting them in?
Through your worship, there's one example of a lightweight prefab structure included in your report. That's one example of what is supposed to be a cost-effective solution. I believe there's another type of structure that some of our neighboring municipalities have used. We talked about it a little bit on the Glenelg one, and I had some concerns. But in this case, it too is an option worth exploring. It might perform quite well. We don't have quite the same stress, pressures, and loadings on this structure like we do in some of the other structures. So we've been monitoring the other two townships and their performance. They seem to be standing up, performing as promised. So it's worth doing some exploratory options on some of the lighter weight structures. This might be a good pilot project if in fact you do wish to replace the bridge.
Okay, thank you. Tom?
Thank you, Mayor. It's just a follow-up to that. I know that the two bridges that were before county there last year or the year before that were basically sent over to me to control those two bridges there. I don't recall the numbers, but both of those bridges, I believe, are going in, if not now, maybe within the next month, but those are both prefabs that are going in. So, you know, we can certainly, I know I'm going to go over and have a look at them. I'm just waiting for the date to, yeah, they haven't gone in yet, but I'm waiting for that date to go over and look at it for sure. Thank you. And I know actually, and I know they came in at a fraction for sure of what they originally quoted.
Good. Just a question, and maybe it's a little off topic, and Jamie can
Reel you back in.
glare at me here if he has to. How would we go about, and then it's a question for the director, how would we go about enforcing load limits on these bridges? Like, we can post all the signs we want, but how do we go about enforcing weight limits and load limits? Like, I know the bridge that's closed, I know, I was just trying to think back whether it was a year ago or 2 years ago. I was held up there while they brought a combine across the bridge, and they had a spotter on both sides to watch how much room he had. He had an inch on each side bringing that combine across. Like, and I mean, the bridges were designed for an Alice Chandler's B and a pull behind combine. They weren't designed for the stuff that we're using today. And, you know, so we really got to beef up the bridges, and who pays for that? The taxpayers at, you know, at a cost. But how do you enforce weight limits in a rural area? Because if the farmer's got to go from A to B, he's going to take the shortest route, whether it's, and you can't blame him. He's going to take the shortest route, and he's not too worried about the weight limits.
Through your worship, I have two parts. Well, actually three. My first comment is my dad will be pleased to know his Ford 8 is still an acceptable option for road traffic. So I'll have to buy him some paint to deal with the rest. The second part, when we talk about the traffic counts, what is unique about West Grey is in a more urban setting, the traffic count is small, lightweight vehicles. But when you get out to the more rural areas, it's driven by agriculture, and they are getting bigger and they are heavier, right? So you might have a pickup truck with some sort of fifth wheel trailer on it, pulling several round bales that have a fair bit of moisture content in it. So weight is in fact an issue. Enforcement, yes, we can post it, but if we don't equip our police services with the tools to gather what I would call empirical evidence, and a previous director had investigated the possibility of portable scales. So I think for the 2025 budget, in conversation with the chief, I'd like to put forward a request for portable scales so that they would at least have some tools if they're questioning somebody to actually do a weight and confirm, no, you are over the limit. Because right now it's just eyeballing it. Yeah, it's half loads and you got a full truck. It's really, really difficult once you get it at half loads to enforce the weight limits. So that would be my opening suggestion. And prior to that budget request, I'll debrief with the chief a little bit on what tools does he need to assist us with the enforcement. Because as you pointed out, and you're probably correct, the bulk of the traffic is heavier, larger pieces of equipment.
Thanks, Doug. Joyce?
Well, thank you. With that recommendation about a portable scales, would our landfill scales not be able to accommodate that currently?
Whoa. We're getting
The
a little bit
landfill
off here. We'll
scales
allow this
are not
question. Yeah.
portable. Right, so I'm thinking something that the actual officer has with them, right? Like how do you stop a truck and redirect them to the landfill, especially if the landfill's not open? It would create a bit of a logistical issue, and I'm trying to think of solutions that would actually work in the field without it turning into chaos.
Okay, let's get back to the bridges and not the scales. All right. Probably, yeah, our biggest infrastructure issue are bridges. I think there's a lot of, this report is about information, and to the deputy mayor's point, I think everybody's point, what other options are out there? We do have at least one structure in West Gray that was a prefab, and I'm not even certain whether that company is still around. That company did do one in Chatsworth on a very heavily used road there, and from my understanding, it has been stood up extremely well to that one. And I think they have at least two other ones as well too, and to the point, some different technologies they've been using as well too since then. It probably, for the public out there, this probably will be not resolved, and that bridge will stay closed till sometime next year.
It will stay closed until the expense to replace it is authorized. So 2025, we could look at the engineering and we can come with a cost to replace it, but yeah, it'll stay closed until a significant cash infusion occurs.
And I thought this side was the political answers. No. You're dead, aren't you? You don't want that recorded? You're not even having the mic on now.
It is not $100 repair. It's not $100,000 repair. It's a big ticket item. Well, I'm saying repair, it's actually replacement. Like it's not cheap, and it's not,
No.
Even if we can get a prefab one, you don't be thinking it's cheap. It's not going to be cheap.
Yeah. Okay. Jamie, this report is for information purposes, and we've had a lot of supplemental information to this report. Do we have it moved and seconded? Councillor Townsend will move, receiving the report for information, seconded by Councillor Forrester. Any further questions on this? The biggest thing is we'll continue to look for cost-effective options going forward and the most efficient ones. No other questions? I'll call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. $11.3.1, Director of Finance, Treasurer, interim CAO. Anything else that I need to add on to there, Carrie? As an introduction to Ms. Mighton. Carrie, you've got one here on the system financial plan update, which is a regulation.
Yes, so as explained in the report, it's a requirement of our drinking water license that we update every 5 years, the financial plan for the water system. We can change it, it's a forecast, but we have to have something that shows a 5-year span. In our case, we are at the point where we are doing a significant investment in our water and sewer infrastructure, which puts pressure on a temporary deficit of funding in the system because of these large investments that we're doing. So it's kind of that's the sort of the where the now moving with inflation, but again, not exactly how, if it will continue or hospital strong as we've seen it, will be yet to be determined. But this is one scenario of a forecast that satisfies the regulatory requirement.
Okay, thank you. Any further questions or comments on this for Carrie? Plan to keep us going forward, keep us in compliance with the regs. And scares us a little bit for the users that are out there on these two systems. What it's going to cost to maintain them to be safe. Okay. So the recommendation is there for acceptance. I believe that's what it says. Deputy Mayor, move that. Thank you very much, Tom. Have a seconder. Councillor Forrester. Thanks, Scott. Just one more financial liability impact that we have, trying to balance all of this out. Any further questions? Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. Okay. Thank you for getting that done, Carrie. Down to 11.4. Morning, Carl. And CBO is here. Director of Infrastructure and Development, just with the update of Q1 for 2024. Anything further on that, Carl?
No, good morning, Council and Mr. Mayor. Yeah, the report's pretty self-explanatory. Just as I noted in the numbers do look very good for the year, but Q1 does tend to be weather dependent, whether it's either a good quarter or bad quarter, sort of depending on when the weather, what the weather's like in March. And this year it was tended to be on and off, I guess, but there was a pretty significant thaw in February, March, and then we did see a lot of development moving forward at that time, at least for applications anyway. And then as the report is based on permits issued, so it's good news for sure, but we just need to be careful with that moving forward.
Okay. Any other questions on the report? Sorry, Doug? Councillor Townsend.
Thank you. Just one, and I think it's a typo in the analysis portion, paragraph 2, where it says a total of 17 new residential units were created in 2023 compared to only 9 in 2023. So should that be the year before? Okay.
Anything else? Received for information. We have a mover for that. Councillor Townsend and Deputy Mayor Hutchison. Thanks, Tom. Doug. Any further questions? Other than the fact that positive numbers, so still a place to build. Create your dreams is West Gray, correct? Good. Call the question. All those in favor? Any opposed? That's carried. All right. That brings it down to 11.5.1. We've had some applications for the position as a public member of the Durham Cemetery Board. The report is there. Any further you want to put forward to that, Jamie?
Through miracles, no, nothing really to add. Just noting that, yes, this appointment will fill the vacancy that was created on the Durham Cemetery Board. So the recommendation is that Don McNabb be appointed to the Durham Cemetery Board with the term beginning immediately and ending on November 14, 2026.
Okay. Questions, Joyce? We'll move it? Okay. Counselor Noonan moves that, seconder. Counselor Forrester, thanks, Scott. Any further questions or comments? Call question, all those in favor? Okay. That's it, Jenny? Was everybody in favor of that last motion? Yeah. Everybody's in favor, yes. Thank you, that's carried. Everybody had their hand up. I didn't follow through and say it was carried. Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Clerk, for keeping us focused and online. Questions? Is there any questions? Councillor Forrester, Scott?
Right, well, in Newstead on Saturday, I was asked about the prettiest village signs that have been removed from the north and south end of town, and they wondered why.
Let's resort to that.
I will have to look into that. Was the condition of them, were they getting tired? You know, I'm not sure, but I will check with Public Works Department and look into that.
First thing I'd like to say, it's probably the detour created by the Walkerton Bridge and we had to take them down. Let's blame Brockton. Okay. We'll figure that one out. I was not sure. I was in Newstead the other day, but didn't notice. Tom?
Thanks, Mayor Eccles. Just wondering when the reduce your speed radar signs are gonna go back up. We would have had it for the long weekend and evening because just that one entry there. I haven't been around the other communities to see if they're up, but wondering when those are going up. I would think that would be Director Aiken.
Yeah. I think he might even be. Are you on there, Jeff?
Yes, we will be putting the radar signs up shortly. We're still ramping up our spring operations, but yeah, it is on our list to do sooner than later. So yes, you can expect them up soon.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Sorry, Joyce?
Again,
Councillor Noonan?
last night at Newstead, I noticed all the fire hydrants were covered in plastic, and I was just kind of wondering what the reasoning for that was.
I believe that has to do with the water tower work that we're doing, the painting of the water tower. So we have temporary storage in other tanker trucks. So in the event of a fire, there's not going to be as much pressure in those while we're doing this work. So they would need to lets the fire department know and reminds them that they shouldn't connect to that, that they would need to bring in the other tankers and fill them up just while we're doing that work.
Thank you, Carrie. Anything else? Joyce? Keep going.
I'm not sure. Questions are usually from previous.
Mhm.
Okay, because mine would deal with today's. It's okay.
All right, okay. Okay. Down to bylaws. We have two bylaws, one the confirming bylaw, and the second one is 044 on the refreshment vehicle licensing bylaw. We doing both of these? What's okay. Oh, all right. Somebody to move in second, and then we'll get them onto the floor. Deputy Mayor, Tom, Councillor Townsend, Doug. Questions? Tom?
Thank you, Mayor Eccles. Just want the bylaw for the, where are we, the refreshment, so I'm clear, it doesn't, is it, anybody that has an existing permit, they're going, this bylaw is saying it's $100 for each time they move to a private? Is that what we've discussed? I look back, I couldn't find it. If I could go ask the clerk that. Jamie?
Yes, through you, Mayor Eccles. So the intent of this bylaw is for temporary licenses of 1 week or less. So somebody who has a permanent 365 license would not qualify for this exemption. They would have to be located on industrial, commercial, or institutional land without seeking leave from council. Should they want to go onto lands not classed as industrial, commercial, or institutional, they could apply for this temporary 1 week or less license and then operate in an agricultural zone or residential zone or something like that. But the intent of this was for those small pop-up events where food trucks come in, they only intend on setting up for a week or less for things like a wedding or something like that, to permit them to be able to operate there without having to come to council to request an exemption from that zoning requirement.
Anything, any other questions? Call the question on the two bylaws. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Very good. Any new business? Announcements? Anyone got any announcements? Councilor Forrester. Scott?
All right, Saturday, June 1st, the Elmwood Firefighters Associations, they're going to be having their breakfast at the fire station, 7:30 to 11. And West Grey Community Yard Sales on Saturday, June 1st in the villages of Ayton for the first time, Elmwood and Newstead.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Doug?
The Save the Hospital Committee has a walk organized for tonight, starting at leaving the arena at 7:30 and going to the hospital to show support for that. There was a good contingent on the bus that went down on the 15th of residents, and got our names heard down there, and I'm sure the mayor will have more on that maybe in his announcements. But no, it was a well-organized, good trip. Couldn't wear our shirts, couldn't wear our pins, all those other good parliamentary things down there that you have to deal with. But as I said, maybe if our shirts were blue, we would have got in, but that's a story for another day.
Yes, okay then. Yeah, the citizens groups, certainly on Save the Durham Hospital. I think, as you said, tonight is the vigil. Candlelight will end up starting at the arena and end up at the hospital. Invite everybody out at all possible. Still time to get signs up. There's still, as I said, it would be a candlelight. I think they're going to be more, not flames as we know it, but there will be candles available and whatnot. Hope to put a very good showing for that the South Bruce Grey Hospital Center and to Ministry of Health, provincial government. It was a very good day at Queen's Park on the 15th, as Doug said. Had over 60 individuals there. Had our petitions read in by the two opposition parties. Was slightly disappointed that our local representative did not follow through with that as well too. There's no restrictions on how many times a petition can be read in, but it only got done twice. And a very good media session as well too in the afternoon when we were down there. It was interesting, some of the comments from individuals that have been their first time in Queen's Park. Question period is far from keeping to the decorum that a municipal council is operated by. If you were the Speaker of the House going there, Jamie, you might find it very difficult when it comes to question period. Our question period is so much more straightforward, I guess is the best way to say it. And the committee is certainly working on a number of other things, and the announcement, I think I can say this, that on April 30th, we had issued that legal, and we still have going forward. Legal is lawyers we have hired by the municipality will be coming forward here shortly with a legal plan to stop and save our hospital and our healthcare in this part of rural Ontario. Like I've said it numerous times, this is just one battle, but there seems to be a war on rural healthcare across Ontario and certainly in Northern Ontario as well too. Large urban centers seem to be getting considerable amount of funding, and small rural areas receiving very little. So anyways, it is the days that we're in and the battle that we're doing, and I've got to say thank you to staff for all the work that they've done onto this project, and to the public group out there, and to all individuals in the area that are putting their concerns forward as well too. Plant sale. Things are growing in West Grey. We had, I think the Horticultural Society had a good plant sale on Sunday or Saturday in Durham. Look forward to that. That's what about all. Any other comments, announcements? Okay, closed session we have none we're aware of. Then we're down to adjournment number 18. Thank you very much. I'm going to say that we stand adjourned until we meet again at 2 o'clock this afternoon. We'll be back for Committee of Adjustment. Public meetings. Yes.